Hello, welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, coming to you from a beautiful day in Los Angeles, California, the heart of Hollywood, with your DIY home remedies guide to health, happiness, and healing transformations. Today, what I thought I'd talk about is something that affects millions of Americans, and yet a lot of people don't discuss it, and that's blood disorders and anemia. Well, what's anemia? Anemia is when the blood is weak. But what are the things that causes our blood to become weak to begin with? Yes, poor diet's going to allow for your blood to become weak. Improper or not enough exercise, believe it or not enough sleep too could actually make your blood become weak. And did you know that too much exercise, meaning too much sweating, could actually make you become anemic as well, because sweat actually is an extension of blood. Most people don't know that. So if you are an athlete and you are training and you're finding that you're becoming lethargic because of how much you're sweating, so let's say you're training for a fight or something and you're cutting weight, and in this process, so from training, then you're going into the sauna, sweating even more, you get out of there, you realize like, wow, I'm really deficient, really tired. That's because as you sweat, the sweat actually being an extension of blood depletes the blood more. So what can we do food-wise to help to build our blood? So a lot of times if you go to your doctor, the doctor will give you iron pills. And yeah, the iron pills can help some, but the reality is that you have to understand the mechanism which makes blood to begin with. All right, so there's three organs. The kidneys are the root, we have their spleen and our pancreas, and then we have our lungs. And most people don't realize this, but even though the bone marrow produces a lot of blood, our lungs do as well too. And there's actually videos finally out there that shows the lungs producing the blood. So in Chinese medicine, we actually call this area the Sea of Qi in the chest. So what kind of foods can we eat in order to replenish our systems? Most importantly, we need to replenish by harnessing the energy of the spleen. Also referred to, now get ready for this is the designer qi of the body, because the spleen houses what is referred to as gu qi. I'm not kidding you, yes, it's gu qi. So anyways, we need to build our gu qi. And the way that we build our gu qi, I didn't say Gucci, I said gu qi. The way we build our gu qi is we eat foods that are bland in nature. We eat things like sweet potatoes, yams, butternut squash, pumpkin. If you're a meat eater, lean red meat. I prefer ground hamburger meat because it's already broken down for you and your stomach doesn't have to work as hard. Other things too, like eggs and tofu and rice, basmati rice in particular. So these are some of the things that we could eat as well. Other things that we could do too is eat more mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, reishi mushrooms, and there's actually have teas of different types of mushrooms, like lion's mane, for example, is really good. We could also have celery juice. We were just talking about this earlier today. So celery juice is really good for digestion. It's really good because it has a lot of probiotics naturally found within the celery juice itself. So this is something that you do every single day. Make your own celery juice or get some organic celery juice from your local market. Okay, so these are some of the food items. Other things we do too is I'm a big fan of a small package of seaweed every day. Small fish. Sardines, believe it or not, are probably the best to get your omegas. Really good for your blood and really good for your brain health as well. So these are some simple food remedies that we could do. And then once again, if you are training and you are becoming deficient, and because you're sweating, then you're going and you're sweating even more, again, we really have to be mindful of this and we have to replenish accordingly. Now, there are certain herbal formulas, so talk to your local acupuncturist about herbal formulas that build the spleen. But some of the telltale signs that we may become blood deficient is we may be somebody that bruises easily. All right, so if you're somebody who bruises easily, guess what? That's your spleen knocking on your back door saying, I am completely deficient and weak here. I'm so weak that I can't even contain the blood within the blood vessels the way I'm supposed to. So what can we do? Well, we have to look now at our mental emotional state. Are we thinking too much? Are we stuck in our heads? Are we over intellectualizing? What are we brooding about? Okay, so ancient practices like Qigong helps teach us the mindfulness that we need, as well as gives us the moving exercises to benefit these internal organs. So mindfulness meditation is really good too. If you're somebody who says, well, Chris, I can't meditate, my answer to that is that if you could worry, you can meditate. Because when you're worrying about something, it's a form of meditation. You're just focusing on something negative that you're just playing in your head over and over and over again. Okay, so we really have to be careful not to overly think things out too much. We have to find a pause. And something as simple as pausing and taking a conscious breath, inhaling and exhaling. is something that's simple enough in order for us to break the pause in the thinking. Okay, so over intellectualizing, worrying too much, having too much anxiety will cause the spleen to become deficient. So especially right now with things that are going on in the world, if you find yourself watching the news, keeping track of all the numbers and everything that's going on, I'm telling you that's going to make your spleen so deficient. If you're on social media and you're getting caught up in certain chats or what people are dishing out, projecting their paradigm out into the universe, and you're getting caught up in that, well, guess what? That will weaken your spleen too. So another recommendation, limit your time. Maybe you set a timer, like 5 minutes of news articles or 5 minutes on Facebook or whatnot. So keep it short, right? We don't want to overextend, because that kind of propaganda that we're getting, internalizing, guess what? This will weaken our spleen. So if you're somebody who bruises easily, some of the telltale signs too is that you're lethargic. After you eat food, if you're lethargic. One of the ways that we tell in Chinese medicine if your spleen is out of balance is we can look at your tongue, and if you stick out your tongue and it's large and flabby, meaning that it has tooth marks around the side of it, that tells us that there's a spleen qi deficiency. Now, if we add a deep midline crack in that tongue, in the middle of the tongue, guess what? Now we also have a stomach yin deficiency as well. So what does that mean? That means that the stomach is unable to process and fully derive all the nutrients from the food that we eat. So besides looking at the tongue, one of the other ways we can tell somebody is blood deficient is that they will have what we call a pale, sallow complexion. Also too is that their lips may be pale as well. So your lips, by the way, are an extension of the spleen and the stomach. So the fuller the lips are, the more nurturing it means that the person is. So when we look at the lips, if those lips are pale, that's also telltale sign that there's a blood deficiency going on. And by the way, going back to that tongue, the tongue would also more likely be pale. It could be very wet and flabby, like I said. Okay, so these are some of the telltale signs of blood deficiency. So it doesn't matter what race you are, you could actually look at somebody and say, wow, that the complexion is a sallow complexion, and so there must be something going on with the blood. What other things can we do to help to build our spleens to help us become less anemic? Well, we could go ahead and make sure that we're sitting down while we're eating. Once again, not watching the news or something violent while eating. Not having heated discussions at the breakfast or the dinner table. Keep those discussions to another time and place, maybe away from the dinner table. Not eating on the run. Try to sit down. Make it a conscious effort to sit down and eat. What else will make your spleen weak? That is cold and raw. If you're eating things or craving things that are ice cold, like ice cold drinks, well, you're craving those because there's another deficiency inside the body, and that comes from the kidneys. Okay, so that's your body's way of also knocking on your back door saying, listen to me, there's something going on. The reason why you're craving those ice cold drinks is because there's a weakness in those kidneys. All right, so ice cold drinks and raw things put out the fire in the stomach. You need to have heat in order to process and assimilate. That's the bottom line. Between 7 and 11 a.m., your stomach and spleen are the most active. So the first thing in the morning, if you're putting something cold into your body first thing, guess what? That's damaging your stomach. And it's going to can further show up as other conditions too. Maybe not just anemia, maybe not just blood disorders, but also certain types of cancers as well too. So we really have to be careful. For women, fibroids. If you're a woman that gets tired around your cycle, this is also the spleen, but it's your liver also, because your liver blood is controlled or controls uterine blood as well. So again, blood is blood, all right? So each of these organs has a certain role that it plays with the blood. So if you're getting around that time of the month and you're finding like, oh, I'm really exhausted, then we really also want to look at our diet. I always recommend, organic grass-fed meat, buffalo. If you don't eat beef, I would try lamb as well too. Is also good for you as well. So these are some of the things that we could do to build up help to strengthen our blood. Okay, so there's something also to look at. If you're a woman who's trying to get pregnant, one of the things that we always tell those women is no cold and raw, because you need warmth here, not too much warmth, not too much heat. So like, for example, you don't want to sit in a hot tub if you're somebody trying to conceive. But we want to keep this area warm because the warmth is what will allow for the fetus to hold. And that's the other thing too. So if you're having miscarriages, if you are having chronic bloody noses, this is also a way of saying that, guess what? My spleen isn't functioning right. Oh, if we're having prolapses, what is a prolapse? It's when the organs fall out of the place. So if your uterus is falling out, if your bladder is falling out, even worse, if your anus is falling out, I'm just kidding, it's not worse. All of them are bad either way. But if those organs are falling out of place, guess what? That spleen is not able to do its function of holding things in place. So whether it's a baby we're trying to hold in place, if it's an internal organ we're trying to hold in place, or it's blood within the blood vessels, we really have to look at the spleen's function. Okay, so blood disorders, these are unfortunately are common, and so once again, we have to look at our environment. We have to look at the food that we're sticking inside of our bodies. Are we sticking in processed food? Sugar, maybe you're not an addict to alcohol or to drugs, but maybe you're an addict to carbs and sugar. It's still a form of addiction. So that sugar is the new tobacco, and it's in everything. Even if you buy low-fat yogurt or non-fat yogurt, you really have to look at the yogurt, because chances are, in order to increase the flavor of the yogurt, they've added more sugar to it. So look, read the labels, pay attention to how you're eating, and practicing Qigong every single day is a good way to help to fix these blood disorders. So what are some of the practices that I recommend? I recommend doing the spleen movement, massaging the yang organs, and especially also to the spleen healing sound. When we're looking at the other internal organs of the body, a lot of people will think that the heart is the one that makes the blood. Actually, the heart is the governor or governess of the body. Not only does it regulate the flow of blood throughout the body, but also it dictates how much of emotion is going to be expressed or suppressed. So going back to our emotional state as well too, maybe doing the heart healing sound could also help indirectly with the anemia, because if you're worried, it's going to damage your spleen, but it's going to affect your heart. Okay, so we're going to begin by pulling down the heavens one time, inhaling, connecting to your higher self, whatever that may be, and again, I'm going to exhale. And now I'm going to imagine that my fingers become like long, hollow straws that enter deep into the earth. And then from here, as I inhale, I'm going to imagine golden light rising up from the earth. I'm going to find a pivot point on the ceiling, and I'm going to look up and I'm going to pivot around that. Inhale in the center, exhale as I turn. And I'm going to focus on something that creates worry or anxiety for me. And as I inhale and exhale, allow for this golden light from the earth to come in, cleansing the spleen and the pancreas and the stomach, and allowing for the positive virtue of peace of mind and centeredness to come in. Inhale and exhale. Or another way we could do this is we could bring the arms down, twisting through the midsection. We're going to allow for the worry and the anxiety to leave like a dark cloud, going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. So our spleen relates to the earth element. So from here, as I inhale and exhale, I'm just going to allow for any worry or anxiety to leave out through the bottom of the feet and deep into the ground. So I'm pulling up the earth energy from the earth, because guess what? Our spleen and stomachs relate to the earth element. So it's neutral, it's harmonizing. Okay, allowing for that positive virtue of peace of mind to come in. All right, let's do one more of those. And bringing it back, pulling down the heavens one time, inhale. And exhale. All right, now massaging the yang organ, so I'm going to inhale, bringing the arms up, and then exhale, and I'm going to drop. Drop it like it's hot. All right, as the hands come up, imagine golden light filling up into the stomach, the intestines, the bladder, the gallbladder. And then as the hands fall, just allow for any stomach upset, gas, bloatedness to leave out through the bottom of the feet like a dark cloud flowing down deep into the ground. Now if you want, you can close your eyes, and as the hands come up, you can imagine this golden light coming up, massaging those organs. And then as you exhale, just allow for any toxicity from your digestive system to leave out through the bottom of the feet. and down deep into the ground. So once again, going back to that celery juice, that's one of the things celery juice is so good for, is reducing inflammation inside the body and also aiding in digestion. Some people say that it actually helps to fight cancer, so I researched more, but that celery juice is really good for you. It's really good for your spleen and your stomach. Hands come up and down. All right, then I'm going to slow it down here. You could actually walk and do this as well if you wanted to. I'm going to finish off by pulling down the heavens one time. Inhale and exhale. Okay, so the spleen healing sound is the sound of who. And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine this yellow or orange cloud filling up into the left side of the body. And as we inhale, especially if there's anything that we are worried about or we are anxious about, I want you to focus on it. Who's involved? What's the situation? Is it something that you're going through right now? Is it something that's coming up in the future? Or is something, the unknown, that you're just anxious about? I want you to feel it, what's going on. And then as you inhale, imagine this yellow-orange cloud filling up into the left side of the body as you exhale, making the who sound. So inhaling. Again, inhale. Inhaling. And also you do the sound underneath your breath, so I could inhale. And just allow for the worry to leave like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. That positive virtue of peace of mind and centeredness comes in and takes its place. Inhale. Let's do a couple more. Inhale. And last one. Inhale. All right, going to bring it back. Pulling down the heavens one time. Inhale. And exhale. Just allow for that white light to come in. Okay, so indirectly, other things that we could do too is we could go ahead and do our lung clearing exercise. Once again, those lungs also help in the formation of blood as well. So making sure to have those lungs clear is really important. So foods that are pungent in nature will help. And if you click on the link below, we have Infinity products that help to nurture these different elements. The earth element, for example, the metal element, which is the lungs, and the water element, which is your kidneys. And once again, all these organs help to play the role into formation or forming blood in the body. Inhaling, as I let the sadness, grief, and sorrow leave, because that's the emotion that affects the lungs, then the positive virtue of courage comes in. Let's do a couple more. Last one. And then feel that white light come in, pushing down, and pulling down the heavens one time. Next one, kidney exercise. I'm going to place my hand on the right kidney. As I inhale, I'm going to imagine a blue cloud coming up. As I exhale, letting the fear and the shock go. Inhale. And exhaling. So the color blue, and it could be any color blue, it could be like the blue, like the Buddha that's that I'm facing, Medicine Buddha. That's who I'm staring at right now. But actually I should be staring at the palm of the hand, then the back of the hand as I do this exercise. And fear and shock will weaken the kidneys and weaken its function of being able to send the essence up to the chest to be made into blood. So again, our marrow produces a lot of blood. That is an extension from the kidneys. So if we have a lot of fear and shock, this also could cause us to become anemic as well. We want the positive virtue of willpower to come in. All right, we're going to switch. Now go in the opposite direction. And if you want to, you could roll the tongue back to the soft palate of the mouth. I'm going to do one more here, allowing that willpower to come in, and then I'm just going to finish off by pulling down the heavens one time. Inhale. So I'm Chris Shelton, signing off from a beautiful day in Los Angeles, California, the heart of Hollywood, with your DIY home remedies guide to health, happiness, and healing transformations. And until next time, I will see you later.